children. Last class we discussed about light, isn't it? So you all know what are the importance of light and in the absence of light what happens, etc. we discussed in the last class. Not only that, based on the ability to produce light, we classify the objects into two groups. What are they? Yes, luminous object and illuminated objects. And we know that luminous objects, they produces light of its own. And what about the illuminated object? Yes, they reflect the light that falls on them. So with illuminated objects, majority of the object we see around us, they fall in which category? Yes, illuminated objects. So these illuminated objects, they reflect in different manners. Some objects, they do not allow light to pass through it. Some objects, they allow the light to pass through it. Some objects allow light to pass through it partially only. So the objects that we see around us, especially the illuminated objects that we see around us can be classified into three groups. So now we can discuss it one by one. Okay, the objects, they can be classified into three groups. Okay. First object, yes, I will show you an example. This is an object. This object allows light to pass through it completely. That means you can see my face very clearly because the light passes through it very clearly. Such objects are known as what? Which type of objects? Transparent. The objects that allow light to pass through it completely are known as which type of object? Transparent objects. Just observe it. See? You can see the light there. Am I right? Just observe it. Hope it is clear. The light. See, that light can be seen on the board. Clear? Yes. So this type of objects are known as what? Transparent objects. What is it known? Transparent. The object that allow light to pass through. Light to pass through. Such objects are known as transparent object. I will show you another example. Just observe this object. Can you see my face clearly? No, but still you could see something is there, isn't it? Just observe it. See? The light passes through this object partially only. See? Light passes through this object partially only. A small amount of light only pass through this object. Such objects are known as translucent. Allow light to pass through partially. Light to pass partially. Allow light to pass through it partially only. Some amount of light is allowed to pass through it. Such objects are known as what? Translucent. So I will show you another example. Yes. Can you tell me this object belong to which category? Does this object allow the light to pass through it completely? Or does it allow the light to pass through partially? What is actually happening here? Yes, this object doesn't allow the light to pass through it. Such type of object, could see that it doesn't allow the light to pass through it. Such objects are known as what? Such objects are known as opaque objects. The objects that doesn't allow light to pass through it. Such objects are known as what? Opaque object. Doesn't allow the light to pass. Doesn't allow the light to pass. Such objects are known as what? opaque objects. So objects can be classified into three. What are they? Transparent objects that allow the light to pass through it completely. Translucent means what? It allows some amount of light to pass through it. What about opaque? Opaque object doesn't allow the light to pass through. So three types. You are quite familiar with these three type of objects. So just observe another example I will show you. When light just passes through this object, what can you see there? What can you see there? What can you see on the board? Yes, it is the shadow of this object. Am I right? Yes, just observe once again. What is formed? Yes. Shadow of the object is formed. Clear? Light cannot pass through it. Instead of that, we could see the shadow of that object. See? We could see the shadow of the object on the board. So, when light passes through, which object shadow is formed? When light passes through the opaque object, the shadow of the object is formed. Why the shadow of the object is formed? Because light cannot pass through the opaque object. When light cannot pass through the opaque object, what is formed there? The shadow of the object is formed. Just observe it. Yes, the shadow of the opaque object is formed because yes, you can see it clearly, the shadow of that object. Yes, you can see that. Clear? Yes. So when the light passes through the opaque object, shadow is formed. Just observe this. This is the translucent object. See, can you see the shadow? Instead of that, you can see the light only. Am I right? You can see the clear light on the board. You can see clear light. You cannot see the shadow. Then what about in the case of this object? Yes, you can see very clearly the light because light passes through the transparent object very clearly. So for the shadow to be formed, mainly three things are needed. What are they? An opaque object. Then absolutely right, that is the source of light, and a surface to cast the shadow. Surface to cast the shadow. As light passes from this side, the shadow is formed on the opposite side. Clear? Yes. So for the shadow to be formed, main three things are necessary. What are they? They are an opaque object. Opaque objects are objects that doesn't allow the light to pass through it. An opaque object is needed. Source of light is needed, very important. It may be the candlelight, it may be the normal sunlight. Any type of source of light is needed. Along with that is subsurface to cast the shadow, because we want to see the shadow there, isn't it? So a substance to or surface to cast the shadow, to see the shadow should be there. These are the main three objects. Another thing you should observe that when we look at the shadow, you just understand what you can understand from the shadow of this object. Just see. Yes. What you can see. Yes. Hope it is very clear. Okay. Yes. What you can see there. You could see this. It is which color? The shadow is in which color? Yes, it's black color, isn't it? So shadow may be black or grey or different shades of grey. You can see this object is a red in color. Am I right? Yes. But can you see the red shadow there? No, you can see only the black or otherwise what? Otherwise the shades of the grey. It is very clear. Light source of light is from this side, and this is the opaque object, and you know the shadow is formed on the board. So board is the surface. This torch is the source of light, and this one is the opaque object, and the board is the surface to cast the shadow. I hope it is clear. What are things you can understand from this shadow? You can just observe the size and shape of the object approximately, isn't it? You can just see the size and shape of the object. See, depending upon the source of light, the power of the shadow also changes. If it is coming from this side, can you see the shadow? Just see the difference you can observe. Yes, now it is not that much clear. Then now, yes, it is getting more and more clear. Hope you can see the difference. The source of light, depending upon the power of the source of light, the clarity of the shadow also changes. Now it is getting the proper light, then you can see a very clear shadow there. Now observe it, what happened? Yes, the shadow is becoming dimmer and dimmer. Now you can't see the shadow. So the power of the source of light is very, very important to cast the shadow. Power of the light is very, very important. The power of the source of light is very, very important for the formation of the shadow. Hope it is clear. So, and for the formation of shadow, an opaque object is needed. The surface to cast the shadow is needed. Not only that, power source of light is needed. And you had already seen, you cannot understand the color or any other feature of the opaque object. You can just see the size and shape of the object. By looking at the shadow, we can just assume that, we can just, guess the object. Size and shape of the object can only be guessed. You cannot say that you cannot say the color of the object. You cannot see the, decorations on the object. You cannot say any other features. You can just say the size, approximate size and shape of the object can only be clear in the case of what? Shadows. So that is, hope it is clear about the shadows. Opaque object only casts the shadows. Clear? Yes. Now we all know that another important aspect. You know that sun is a luminous object. That's very, very clear. No doubt in it. Sun is a luminous object. Then what about Earth and the Moon? Earth and the Moon, they both are what? Opaque objects. Then how can we see the Earth and the Moon? Yes, because they reflect the light that falls on it. They reflect the light that falls on them. And who gives them light? Yes, sun gives them light. So, the moon and the earth, they reflect the light that falls on them. So, we can call them as what? Illuminated objects. That's very clear, isn't it? Both moon and earth, they reflect the light that falls on them. Reflects whose light? Sun's light that falls on them. So we can call them as what? Illuminated object. The part of the earth that received the sun rays has day, that we all know, and the opposite part has night. The part of the earth that receives the rays of the sun, that part has daytime, and the opposite part has got what? Night. Clear? Yes. So we know that earth is revolving around the sun. It's very clear. Earth is revolving around the sun. Similarly, moon is revolving around the earth. And what's the relationship between moon and the earth? Who can tell me the answer? Yes, moon is the natural satellite of the earth. Upagraha. Moon is the natural, so many artificial satellites are there. That is man-made. But moon is the natural satellite of the earth. That means it always revolves around the earth. So, the earth revolves around the sun. Meanwhile, moon revolves around the earth. All the time it happens. Earth takes nearly 365 days to complete one revolution around the earth. So, moon is also doing the same type of revolution. Some days or some time, you know what happens? The earth, sometimes the sun, here it is the earth, here it is the moon, and sun is very bigger in size, earth is comparatively smaller and moon is the smallest. Just understand this. Okay, sun, earth is revolving around the sun, moon is revolving around the earth. Sometime, you know what? They will come in the straight line. As all are revolving, some days or some time or some point of the day, they come exactly in the same line. When earth comes in the center, Who doesn't get the light of the sun? Yes, moon doesn't get the light of the sun. You know, sun's light is blocked. You know, earth is an opaque object. So, the sun's light is blocked by the earth. So, moon doesn't get the light of the sun. And that event, it is known as what? Lunar eclipse. You know, we can say Chandragrahanam, lunar eclipse. When the sun, earth and moon, they come in the straight line. You can look at the board also. When you can see the diagram there. The sun, earth and the moon, these three come in the straight line. What happened? Yes, the moon doesn't get the light of the sun. The moon doesn't appear bright. But what happened? Moon color will become what? Reddish. Reddish moon only we can see on that days, and it occurs usually on the full moon day. Full moon day. What happens that day? Yes, that time earth comes in the center of the sun and the moon. You know, size sun is the biggest one, moon, earth is comparatively smaller, and the moon is the smallest. Well, comparing these three. So what happened when the earth comes in the center, as earth is an opaque object, it doesn't allow the sun's light to fall on the moon. Then what happened? Moon cannot appear bright. Instead, we can see the reddish color moon, reddish moon. And that is known as what? Lunar eclipse. Clear? Yes. So, the moon wants to take the revenge, you know. This in what the revolution continues. So at one point of time, see what happened. Who will come in the center? The moon will come in the center. And what happened? Even though the earth is comparatively bigger than the moon blocks the sun's ray reaching on the earth. In some point of the day, at least I think twice in a year it happens, only twice in a year. So some nearly for some minutes or seconds only it stands in one area. You had already observed last year, last December. Many of you, I know, you had observed that solar eclipse. You know what is this solar eclipse through the filters provided. Hope you remember that we had experienced what? Annular. Yes, annular is ring-shaped solar eclipse. Am I right? Yes. I know many of you had already observed it, and you know how beautiful was that experience. And at the end of this class, we will watch a video. Those who hadn't seen it, they can watch that video, the solar eclipse. Okay. And you can watch the video of the lunar eclipse also after this class. Okay, children? Yes. So, what is actually solar eclipse? The earth will be covered, or earth will be blocked by the moon from reaching the whose light? Sun's light. Moon block the earth from reaching because moon, as we all know, it is an opaque object. So, moon can block the sun's light from reaching the earth. You can look at the board, you can see the beautiful diagram of the solar eclipse, and you know that is known as what? That eclipse is known as solar eclipse. It occurs on the new moon day. Solar eclipse occurs on the new moon day. You can see different types of eclipses. Solar eclipses are there. You know, total solar eclipse are there. That means if the moon completely blocks the earth from getting the sun's light. The moon completely blocks the earth from getting the sunlight, and that time we could see complete darkness that time. Even though it may be daytime, we could even see stars in the sky. That much dark. It may last for only few seconds, but still we could see the stars in the sky. That much dark we can experience, even though it is for a few seconds, because the moon can completely block the earth from getting the sun's light. That is total solar eclipse. Total eclipse. We cannot see the sun at all. That is total solar eclipse. Next one, partial. Some part of the earth is covered, prevented from reaching the sun's light. Only some part. That is the partial solar eclipse. Some part you could see total, then partial. Last year we had experienced the annular solar, ring-shaped solar eclipse. So 3 types of eclipses are there. Total solar eclipse means completely covered by the sun, covered by the moon. Then partial means what? Part of the earth is covered by the moon. And finally the annular means what? Ring-shaped only. Okay, in the video you can observe the annular solar eclipse. So it's very important section from this chapter. You know what are they? Solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse, who will come in the middle? Yes, Earth will come in the middle and Earth blocks the sun's light from reaching the moon. That time moon appears reddish in color. That is lunar eclipse. And what about solar eclipse? Just opposite, who will come in the middle? Moon will come in the middle. And moon block the Earth from getting the sun's light. That is known as what? Solar eclipse. Dear children, you should learn to draw the diagram of solar eclipse and lunar eclipse and draw the solar as well as lunar eclipse in an assignment sheet and send to me as early as possible. Next assignment for you, you should draw the diagram of solar eclipse and lunar eclipse in assignment sheet. Take the photo and send to me. You can decorate it as you wish. You can beautify it, the diagram. Okay children? Yes, so submit it as early as possible. Last class also I had told you to submit one assignment. So many students who had not done it. So if you want to get the marks, definitely you should. I will not send the assignment through WhatsApp. I will not tell you what you are supposed to do. Only through the class I will inform you about the assignment. If I am not going to get the assignment from you, I will not put mark for you. That's very important. So children, be very careful. Attend the class completely and you should see that whether any assignments are given or not. And just complete it and send to my personal WhatsApp as early as possible. Okay. So today we have discussed about 3 types of objects. What are they? Transparent, translucent and opaque objects. Transparent, allow light to pass through it completely. Translucent, partially. Some amount of light can be allowed to pass through. You know, so many examples of transparent, clear, clear water is transparent. Spectacles, glass is transparent. So many examples are there. Then, some plastics are also transparent. Translucent, it allows some amount of light to pass through it. Butter paper, tracing paper, the frosted glass of the windows. In our school and all we have such glasses, frosted glass. Light can pass through it, but it is not clear. We cannot see what is there on the opposite side when we look through that glass, frosted glass. The examples of translucent. Then opaque, so many examples are there. Wood is an example of opaque object. Then metal is an example of opaque object, because that objects, they do not allow light to pass through it. Then we had discussed about already the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. Clear children? Now just take your textbook fast. Okay. Take page number 156. Shall I start? Yes. First question, I will not tell these answers or send these answers through WhatsApp hereafter. You can note down the answers now. Fill in the blanks only, okay? This is tick, first one, tick the correct options. A luminous object produces, those who know the answer, tick it fast, light. We are able, second one, we are able to see an illuminated object because it, yes, reflects light. Third one, an object that forms a dark shadow is, which object? Opaque. An object that allows some rays of light to pass through it is called translucent. Last one, a solar eclipse occurs when the moon's shadow falls on the earth. Okay, now we can move on to the fill in the blanks. We cannot see things in the absence of light. ABSENCE, absence of light. Second question, a source of light can be natural or man-made. Natural or man-made. Next one, light is a form of energy. What is that? Light is a form of energy. Fourth and fifth in the next class we can discuss, because I haven't discussed that in the class. Okay. Now just I will read the question answers that will be given through the WhatsApp later. Now just listen. Define light year. 1 light year, I know some are telling the answer. 1 light year is the distance traveled by light. Is it in 1 month? No, in 1 year. That is light year, distance traveled by the light in 1 year. Next question. What makes illuminated objects appear bright? You know, illuminated objects like, the earth, moon, and we, the human beings, we all are illuminated. And how we appear bright? How can you see me now? Or how can you see you, the mobile in front of you, your book, etc.? How? Yes, illuminated objects reflects light that falls on them. That is why they appear bright. In the absence of light, can we see the illuminated objects? No, in the presence of light only we can see the illuminated objects. Next one. Third question, next class we will discuss. Fourth question, see. When does a solar eclipse occur? Solar eclipse occurs on a new moon day. The answer is there on the board. Solar eclipse occurs on a new moon day. When does a lunar eclipse occur? Yes, a lunar eclipse occurs on a full moon day. Of course, lunar eclipse can be seen in the night. Full moon day you can write, or full moon night also write. What are opaque objects? Give 2 examples. What are opaque objects? When an opaque object an object which does not allow light to pass through it. An object which does not allow light to, the book is an example. Yes, it does not allow light to pass through it. Such objects are known as what? Opaque objects. Example, wood, stone and metals. Next question. When is a shadow formed? When is a shadow formed? We discussed it now. Yes, when an opaque object comes in the path of light. What happened? Can the light pass through the opaque object? No. Then what is formed? Yes, a shadow of the object is formed. And we could see a dark patch. You had already seen it. Dark patch can be seen on the other side, which is known as the shadow of the opaque object. Okay. Yes. The balance questions we can discuss in the next class. Okay. So the fill in the blanks answers. Once again, I am reminding you, I will not send through WhatsApp. So you should complete the answers, the textbook, and read the textbook thoroughly. If any doubt is there, you can ask me through WhatsApp. So until we meet in the next class, it's bye from me. Take care. Now you can watch a beautiful video of solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. So bye.
A lunar eclipse happens when the Earth blocks some or all of the sun's direct light from reaching the moon. This cosmic event only takes place during a full moon, which happens once every 29.5 days, or the length of one full orbit of the moon around the Earth. So why don't we have an eclipse every month? The moon's orbit is tilted a few degrees in relation to the Earth, so the Earth, moon, and sun don't always align. When the Earth does eclipse the sun, it casts 2 types of shadows on the moon, a larger shadow known as the penumbra, and a smaller, darker shadow known as the umbra. There are 3 types of lunar eclipses. The first is a total lunar eclipse, when the sun, moon, and earth are in perfect alignment and the moon falls within the earth's umbral shadow. Total lunar eclipses are the most striking of the 3 types because they turn the moon a sunset red. While shorter blue wavelengths of light are scattered outward by the Earth's atmosphere, longer red wavelengths are refracted or bent inward toward the moon, making it appear red. The brightness of the moon's red glow depends upon how much dust and clouds are in the Earth's atmosphere. Following volcanic activity, ash can block out enough light to render the moon a darker red or even near black. A partial lunar eclipse, the second type, occurs when the Earth, moon, and sun don't perfectly align, so only part of the moon passes into Earth's umbra. Earth's shadow appears very dark on the side of the moon facing Earth. Last, a penumbral lunar eclipse occurs when the moon passes through Earth's penumbral shadow. The event is so subtle that most people don't even notice. The moon will appear just slightly darker than normal. Lunar eclipses occur up to 3 times a year and can be observed from the entire nighttime half of the Earth. Unlike during a solar eclipse, it's safe to look at the moon with the naked eye during a lunar eclipse. It is only because of the distances of the sun and moon from the Earth that we are able to witness total lunar eclipses. As the moon inches away from the Earth each year, one day, billions of years from now, the moon will be too far away to fall completely within Earth's umbral shadow. Until then, we can occasionally enjoy seeing our own planet's shadow cast upon the largest object in the night sky. A solar eclipse happens when a new moon moves between the Earth and the Sun, blocking some or all of the Sun's rays from reaching the Earth. By cosmic chance, even though the Sun is 400 times wider than the Moon, it's also 400 times farther away. Therefore, the 2 objects appear the same size in our sky. Astronomers are able to predict eclipses because the Earth and Moon have very predictable orbits. Why then isn't there an eclipse every month? The Moon's orbit is usually tilted a few degrees north or south in relation to the Earth. When the Moon does eclipse the Sun, it casts 2 types of shadows on Earth: a smaller, darker shadow known as the umbra, and a larger shadow known as the penumbra. There are 4 types of solar eclipses. The first and most spectacular is a total eclipse, when the moon completely covers the sun's surface. A total eclipse can only be seen if you're standing within the umbral shadow. That's why the imaginary line created by this shadow as it races across Earth is known as the path of totality. People within the penumbral shadow see only a partial eclipse, the second type. From this view, outside the path of totality, the moon passes in front of the sun off-center, never fully covering its surface. Third, an annular eclipse occurs when the moon passes directly in front of the sun. However, unlike a total eclipse, the moon appears too small to fully cover the sun. The moon's orbit is elliptical, so sometimes it's closer to Earth and sometimes it's farther away. Last, a hybrid eclipse is when the moon's position between the Earth and Sun is so finely balanced that the curvature of the Earth plays a role. The moon will be farther away from some parts of Earth along the eclipse's path, resulting in an annular eclipse. In other parts, the moon will be just close enough to fully cover the sun, resulting in a total eclipse. While a total solar eclipse happens somewhere on Earth every year or 2, any given point on Earth experiences the event only about once every 400 years.
One, two, three. Wow. Timer's up. It's about to. Yeah, it's bright.